Hello friends, my name is Ramasu. Today we shall discuss about a topic, the Stakeholder Salience. Friend, today's topic is very interesting, especially if you have interest in project management or you are planning to give exam of PMP in near future. So let's just start friend. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell option as well so that my new videos can reach to you. Friend, Stakeholder Salience is the stakeholder power to influence the firm, the legitimacy of the stakeholders, relationship with the firm, and the urgency of the stakeholder claim on the firm. The concept of stakeholder salience was proposed by Ronald and in an article for the Academy of Management Review in 1997. The author proposed a theory of a stakeholder identification and salience in response to the many competing definitions of a stakeholder and the lack of agreement who and what really counts in stakeholder management. Considering the principle proposed by Freeman of who and what really counts, Mitchell argued that the first question, who counts, calls for a normative theory which logically defines who should be considered as stakeholders, while the second, what counts, requires a descriptive theory of a stakeholder salience which explains that conditions are in place when managers do consider certain people or entities as stakeholders. Although there are many different definitions used for identifying stakeholders, they tend to be either broad and inclusive or narrow and pragmatic. For example, Freeman's broad definition allows practically anyone to be classified as a stakeholder, as virtually anyone can affect or be affected by an organization. A stakeholder in an organization is any group or individual who can affect or is affected by the achievement of the organization's objective. In other words, an entity must have a legitimate claim or stake in the organization to be considered a stakeholder. These narrow definitions accept the reality that managers can't and don't consider all possible stakeholders. Both definition types tend to focus either on power or legitimacy, the power of the firm over a stakeholder, and vice versa, or the legitimacy of a stakeholder's claim on an organization. Legitimate stakeholders could have a legal, contractual, moral, or financial claim. All definitions ignore urgency, the degree to which stakeholders' claim call for immediate attention. They proposed a new normative theory of a stakeholder identification based on three variables: power to influence the firm, legitimacy of the stakeholder relationship with the firm, the urgency of the stakeholder claim on the firm. The definition of legitimacy is taken from the Sherman 1995, who defines legitimacy as a generalized perception or assumption that the actions of an entity are desirable, proper, or appropriate within some society constructed system of norms, value, beliefs, and definitions. Urgency is defined as the degree to which stakeholders claim call for immediate attention. The degree depends not just on time sensitivity but also on how critical the relationship is with the stakeholder or the importance of their claim. From this stakeholder typology, the authors introduce managers' perceptions to develop a theory of a stakeholder salience. Then, friend, project management relies on people. You need the project team to get things done, and that team might include members of different stakeholders groups. It's common to have a core team of people who work daily or at least regularly on the project, and then a wider stakeholder community. The Salience model is a tool you can use as part of a stakeholder analysis, management, and engagement. It's a way of categorizing stakeholders so you can evaluate the best way to involve them in the project. There are three elements to consider which together highlight the saliency of the stakeholder. In other words, how much priority you should give that stakeholder. The three considerations are legitimacy, power, urgency. The legitimacy, this is a measure of how much of a right the stakeholder has to make request of the project. Legitimate stakeholders can have a claim over the way the project is carried out can be based on a contract, legal right, moral interest, or some other claim to authority. The strategic management layer in an organization is likely to have a say in how the project proceeds as well as the key customer or client. Power. This is a measure of how much influence they have over actions and outcomes. Their power could derive from hierarchical status or prestige within the organization, money invested from a particular stakeholder, ownership of resources required to successfully deliver the outcome, or similar. Larger projects are likely to have higher number of people with power involved because they tend to attract greater corporate governance and oversight, so the top management likes to know what is going on. Urgency. This is a measure of how much immediate attention they demand and how unacceptable a delay is response and action is to the stakeholder. The expectation of high urgency can result from some kind of ownership, previous experience where urgent actions was taken that leads to continued expectations of comparable response times, a time sensitive problem that creates exposure for the stakeholder or similar. For example, how often are they likely to bring your urgent issues, things that can't wait? Together, an assessment of these three elements can tell you how engaged a stakeholder is or will be in the work and how they could influence the project. This is useful information for tailoring your engagement activities and working out with whom to invest your time actually. Friend, project manager love a good basically things like that. Stakeholders that fall into areas where they have two or three elements of saliency are the ones to be the most aware and to spend the most time with. Dominant stakeholder, this group has high power and also high legitimacy to influence the project. An example would be the board of a company. The blend of power and legitimacy means they can act on their intentions should they ever want to. They might not spend much time on the project, but you know about it when they want to get involved. Dangerous stakeholders. This group has high power and also expects their needs to be met with a high degree of urgency. However, they have no legitimate claim over the project. The researchers point out that project stakeholders in this group, for example, pressure groups, can use coercive power and unlawful tactics to draw attention to their interest in the project actually. So friend, thank you, thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please share it with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.